to GPJFF in Conversation. My name is Dreschler. I'm the artistic chair, and here with me is Miki Marin. Miki is the daughter of Shoshana, that's the Hebrew name of Rosa, who is the sister of Tzipora, which is the Hebrew name of Helena, the woman that the film Love It Was Not is about. So Helena is Miki's aunt. Miki herself is an actress and a director. For 45 years, she has been running her school for the performing arts together with her husband. She teaches dance and theater. And now her two daughters are also in the performing arts. They are dancers and choreographers. And Maya Sarfaty, the filmmaker, was the student of Miki for many, many years, a dance student. And this is where she first heard the story from Miki. So my first question to you, Miki, is when was it that you told Maya the story of your family, and what was the story that you told her?
So hi, I'm talking to you from far away from Israel. Well, Maya is my dearest student. She was with me from the age of 5 till 18. Then she joined the army, and then she became a teacher in my school. And we are very close friends, and she's like my daughter's best friend too. So she's like my family. She always heard from me the story about Shoshana and Tzipora, my mother and my aunt. My husband Zevik loves to tell the story too. So each time that she was a little bit injured in the leg or the back, and she didn't do the exercises, and she went out and she sat with Zevik in the office, and he told her again and again all the details about the story. Few years later, she wanted to make a novel out of it, a book. She wanted to write a book, but everything was still very sensitive. Tzipora and Shoshana were still alive, and my cousins, Israel and Billy, Tzipora's children, nobody wanted the story to come out then. Everything was very sensitive. So she waited a few years longer, and she studied to make movies in the university in Tel Aviv. And she decided she wanted to make סרט גמר. Had final work she wanted to do about that story. So by that time, my mom and Tzipora were not alive anymore, and my Billy and Israel were open more to hear about it, and this movie took place and happened. And actually, I don't know if you know it, there are two versions, a short version and this version that now you are screening. The short version won the Oscars in America for a short movie of students, and Maya and Nir, her husband, who is the producer of the movie, went to LA and came back with an Oscar. So we are very proud. Yeah.
So okay, I'm just curious, Miki, what was the story? Just in very short, not in details. What did she know, Maya? What was the story that you were sharing with other people?
Actually, I was talking very little about it because the subject is very touching with me. I, as a child, had nightmares, and I was known that when the Holocaust Day Yom HaShoah is coming, I don't watch movies, I don't talk about it because it was too difficult for me. But Maya was like my daughter, so I told her the story that Shoshana and Tzipora, my aunt, they were together in Auschwitz. There was a relationship between Wunsch, an SS officer, with Tzipora. He fell in love with her deeply. And Tzipora and Wunsch saved my mother. My mother was standing with her two children near the gas chambers, and Wunsch was sent by Tzipora and took out my mother literally out of the gas chamber, left the two kids there to die, and this is the way my mother was saved. Oh, Maya!
Hello, Maya. Hello. So we're now joined by Maya Sarfaty, the director of the film. Shalom, Maya. Nice to
Shalom, shalom. Nice to be here. Thank you for hosting us. Sorry for being late.
So happy, so happy.
No, Miki,
I'm so happy.
Miki has important things to say too. So Miki was just explaining or telling us what was the story that she told you when you were her student. So what did you know as a student? So Miki, please continue.
I told you when you were so little, and you loved it, and you took it to yourself, about Shoshana and Tzipora, their story in Auschwitz, how Tzipora sent Wunsch, the SS officer, to save her, and he saved my mother. And this is basically the story that we told Maya. She was growing on it. She knew it like it was her own story. And things were going deeper, more and more. Like 6 years, 5-6 years ago, somebody talked to my family, in my family, and it turned out to be the husband of Dagmar, that is the daughter of Wunsch.
Okay.
And we were amazed by it. I couldn't believe my eyes and ears that this thing is happening. And of course, immediately I called Maya and I said, Maya, what are we going to do? They're trying to reach us. I'm fainting, I'm dying. I don't know what to do with myself. So Maya was my tranquilizer. She used just to tell me, it's still till today, by the way. She just said, relax, everything is going to be okay. Don't do nothing. Just take his phone or email and we'll see later. And it looked very easy then. And from that point on, it turned out to be Maya talked to those people. She reached Dagmar, the Wunsch's daughter, and the movie happened. Of course, million details, of course, millions of hours that Maya was watching Auschwitz and going into Yad Vashem and all kinds of things that she did with her life to make this movie happen. But she will tell you more in details about that. I know only that she relaxes me and made the movie happen.
Sorry, you were going to say something, Maya?
I wanted to say that I think that one of the key moments for me, when me and Miki contacted Dagmar, Francis Wunsch's daughter, was when we learned that she's willing to cooperate regarding the other side, and that she's willing to give us access to his diaries and to his personal testimony that he gave to the family. This rare video sitting in his backyard with his panties, talking about his past in the camps. And when we realized that we have the access to this kind of materials, we basically understood that finally we have the means to tell the full story. And with our journey, it took more than 5 years.
Now we have both sides of the story. Also, the side of Wunsch and the side of Helena. It's evident to me from the way Miki is talking and what you're telling us about Dagmar that time plays a crucial role here. that what was received very differently, or in one way, in the 70s and 80s in Europe and in Israel, this story is now received in a totally different way. So time did something to this story. For instance, Miki is saying that when they grew up, they didn't really share the story with people outside the family. You were an exception, but I understand that it was not something that you would tell people. It wasn't something that you thought people will say, great, interesting, you saved many people, good for you, you're a good person. This was not the atmosphere back then in Israel. Am I correct, Miki?
Yeah, very much. The atmosphere was very touchy.
Can you explain what you
Tzipora,
mean? Can you explain what do you mean by touchy or sensitive? What does that mean?
we thought that the story is our secret, is our to tell among ourselves. When Maya started the research, we found out that the whole world knows the story. When you go to Auschwitz, the woman who tells you, the guide who tells you their things, she talks about my aunt. There was just a year ago or something, an opera in Thailand about it. Dagmar's husband wrote a few books about it. It's like a story that goes around in the world. And I was amazed because it was our story. I don't want to say secret because I didn't feel a secret, but it was our story. And you don't go telling people your life story. It's private. Even now, some people, I don't want to mention names, some people of my family said, the movie is great, Maya did a marvelous job, but why do you have to go into details when in the interviews especially? Why do you talk about that? And it's like it's still some secret between people in our family. I just wanted to say, back then, the whole atmosphere around the Holocaust was very touchy. And it's like, what did you do there that you survived? It's like you feel guilty that you survived. Not only my aunt, my great and wonderful aunt, and many other people. So you didn't talk about it that much. And people were like me. I was so sensitive to the story. My daughters and my husband, who are the closest people to me in the world, couldn't talk to me about the Holocaust. The only one who cracked that wall was Maya, because she knew how to do it with me. And I didn't talk about it. It was too difficult. It was too crazy. Unbelievable story. That's it.
I would say in Israel, the point in which the atmosphere in the Israeli street was changed regarding the survivors in the 60s in the Eichmann trial. That was the point in which the Israelis suddenly started listening to the survivors and wanted to hear what happened there. Till that point, it was a silenced issue, and as Miki said, it was the survivors were kind of guilty of being alive. If you were a woman, what have you done in order to survive? How could it be that all others didn't and you did? And the story about Helena is that she listened with the radio to the Eichmann trial closely. Mm-hmm. And at some point, she started crying and screaming. And at that point, this is how the story goes as her son told me. At that point, she lost the ability to sing. From that point on, she never sang again. But she did started talking about her past and telling her story, her personal story. I would say that I listened to few testimonies testimonies that she gave along the years. The earliest testimony I heard is from the early 80s, and in this one, she doesn't even mentions the name. She's really, it's really hard for her to talk about it. And in her last testimony, the one that I'm using in the film from the Spielberg archive, from the late 90s, she already speaks quite openly about it. And she even says, yes, I had some feelings for him as he saved my sister and he saved me. So there was, I think that for Helena and from Rosa's perspective, I'm sure Miki can tell us much more than I can. But from Helena's side, there was a big difference between along the way she spoke about the story and the way she communicated it to the world. Yeah.
You mentioned that a change began in Israel in the 60s where it was, I think from an Israeli perspective, it was legitimate or even good to talk about the side of the victims in the war. But in 1972, when the trial took place in Austria, and Helena decided to go and give her testimony, she said, for the bad and the good things. This was not a trivial decision, right? She got, and Miki, you can talk about it too. The public was, at least some of the people were very angry with her. Very angry. It wasn't normal that she would go and testify for a Nazi officer. So in the 70s, we still see a lot of anger and a lot of envy. By the way, not by the way, but the women you interview, they say a lot of things, but it's very clear that even at that time in Auschwitz, some of the women were very angry with her, although they must have realized that she's helping other women by being close to Wunsch, whatever close was, whatever close was at that time. So can you talk a little bit about 1972, what it meant for Helena and the family to go to Austria, and also about that, the feelings of anger and envy that come out throughout the film later with Rosa?
About the testimony, I remember it very clearly, because I don't remember clearly things, but that was very strong and stayed with me very strong. Everybody was against it. Everybody was, what do you need that for? Don't go. I remember that she got threats on her life, that a policeman was placed near the house to protect her. And some of her friends from the camp said that like they threatened her. I know that the family, our family, was not for it. They thought it's too much and it's too much for her health as well. So this was very difficult, and she explained it, and she said she has to go. She feels that she cannot not go, and she's going to say the good things and the bad things that he did. He was a bad person with she was talking about the man. He was hitting and acting very violently against men, and he was very, I don't know if very, but he was gentler with the women. And he saved a lot of people that were around Tzipora, of course, especially my mother. But the thing about the testimony was a big issue here in the family, in Israel, and all the people who knew her.
Yeah.
I will add another thing regarding the trial. I would say that it was a big drama for Helena, as Miki is telling for her own personal memory. But I think it's very important to understand that I would say it differently. More than 60 SS officers that lived freely in Austria, officers who served in the death camps, were brought to the knowledge of the Austrian authorities in the 60s. Only 4 of them were brought to trial. All of them were acquitted. What I'm trying to say that I don't think that Helena's testimony had a crucial impact regarding the outcome of the trial. I think Wunsch would have been acquitted anyhow, because this was the atmosphere in Austria back then, and this is what the Austrian did. So it was a very big drama for her to decide whether she needs to go or not. But technically, legally, regarding the Austrian trial itself, I don't think it had a lot of an impact. Regarding the women I interviewed in the film, I spent 2016 and most of 2017 at the Yad Vashem archive in Jerusalem, looking for testimonies of women survivors who were among the first transports to Auschwitz or worked in the Canada facilities. I watched, dozens of shocking testimonies of Auschwitz survivors, hoping they would remember and mention Helena, Rosa, and Franz. And it was a terrible period for me. I cried more than usual back then, I can promise you that. But there were also moments of light in these days, at least from a scriptwriter point of view. Because to my surprise, quite a few of the survivors devoted precious minutes of their personal testimonies to the story. And those few minutes were kind of a window for me, helped me understand what is the real day-to-day meaning of the bombastic headline, you're saying it, an affair between an SS officer and a Jewish prisoner in Auschwitz. They gave it color and smell and sound. They gave it life. I was able to locate 7 of the women and interview them myself. 2 of them are no longer alive and have not seen the film, unfortunately. The rest of the testimonies in the film are a product of the important and valuable effort of Yad Vashem and the Shoah Foundation by Steven Spielberg. What else? I call this brave and beautiful woman in the film the chorus of 1,000 women. For me, all of them together are the fourth protagonist of the film. There's Helena, Rosa, Franz, and the women's chorus. As in big tragedy, the chorus accompanies and unfolds the story. But there's one big difference. Here in our chorus, the women doesn't speak in one voice. On the contrary, each and every one of them brings a different voice and a different gaze at Helena and the whole story, as you mentioned, Iris. Some of them are angry. Actually, only one of them.
Helena also tells us that one time, I think she says another friend or woman prisoner mentioned something bad to her or tried to hurt her because they were so angry with her.
Helena talks about the past time, but the woman that I'm talking about that gave the interview, she's the only one, by the way. All the other are very empathetic, as you can hear, they say, you can't judge, and anybody in her position would do the same. But I think that being in Auschwitz is a very hard position for us, from our safe place, to understand from all sides.
I don't think it's possible at all. I want to ask you, Maya, and then Miki. And I want to ask Maya first. So, talking about Helena in France, I was thinking about it. She was 16, 17, and he was 20, 21 when they met. In today's standards, these are very, very young people. To enter a love relationship under these, I mean, it's a place that has come to represent hell on earth, Auschwitz. And to find yourself as a 16-year-old becoming the center of love and attention of the most frightening person there, the head of the commando. And to see him fall in love with you, I can't even imagine the situation. I don't want to, I don't think it's our place. But from a filmmaker's point of view, having seen Helena, what do you think it was in her personality that made Wunsch fall in love with her? And then I want to ask Miki the same question because she really knew Helena.
Well, I would say two things. First of all, they were quite in the same age, actually. Helena arrived to Auschwitz. When she arrived to Auschwitz, she was 19 and a half. Okay. She met Wunsch almost a year after, and there was approximately the same age. Is
maybe
older than her in half a year, something like that.
Okay.
And the main thing, what draws me and what makes the story so relevant to our lives today, as I see it, is that it raises fundamental and ethical and moral questions regarding relationships and authority. Because you must ask yourself, is it even possible to speak in terms of love regarding an SS officer and a Jewish victim in Auschwitz? Can you talk about free will or free choice? I hope the film offers various answers to these questions. And I hope that by watching it, each and every one in the audience will be able to choose for himself the right answer. I would give one episode from the editing room that I think that that really shows the way each of them, Franz and Helena, remembered the story for their whole life after. Helena says in the film that the song that she sang in the moment Franz fell in love with her is Liebe war es nie, meaning it was never love. And this is also the name of the film, Love It Was Not. In his diaries, Franz says that the song she sang is My heart is homesick for your love.
I saw this. I think it was in the Israeli news, but then when I tried to rewatch it, that part wasn't there. I was amazed.
Yeah.
One of them remembers his own perspective on what happened in the song.
Exactly. I don't know what was really the song that was sang in that point, but I do know that what they remembered or what they choose to tell the world about this specific moment, the moment you asked about why he fell in love with her, about the moment he fell in love with her, is very inherent to the way each of them took the story to the rest of his life.
Absolutely.
And regarding Helena's personality, I think Miki will be able to give us a better perspective.
Okay, Miki, I know. Okay.
Just want to say about Tipora. I'm sorry I cannot say Helena. I never met them as Helena and Rosa.
Yes, Tzipora.
Maya opened it. Tzipora was you would fall in love with her as well. She was the most gorgeous woman in the world. She was so pretty, and she was like a movie star. She was a queen. When she entered the room, by the way, with her husband, David Tehori, which was like a beautiful person himself, they were a power couple. They were both gorgeous. She was, I will leave him because he has to get his own fame place, but I'm going to talk about Tzipora. She was singing and acting. She was an actress, and she needed a stage, which she didn't get, on the Habima and the Camry and Broadway, and she got her own, she made her own stage. Each place that she entered, that was her stage. People were amazed. She was a goddess, a storyteller. You were just drawn to her. I remember, this is from my point of view, of course, when I was young, she said I was her real daughter because she wanted to be an actress, and I fulfilled it. I was on the stage instead of her, and we were very, very, very close. She wanted me to come with her to places, especially she was invited to London to an interview in the BBC, and she wasn't speaking English that well, and she wanted me to come and be her voice. And I got scared, and I said, please, I love you, don't take me with you, because I felt that I was very scared from the stories, and I felt like I'm sinking. And I said, I'm going to go there, it's going to be very bad for my soul. So I said no, and she was very angry with me, because she said, you are part of me, and you have to be with me, and you have to be my voice. And I tried to survive. We were very close, and Tzipora was something above normal people. And her stage was all those places, like, the children who go to Auschwitz for trips, and she went with them and she was talking there. She went to all to Yad Vashem and to Spielberg and to the BBC. Anybody that was ready to listen to her, the goal of her life, the purpose of her life was to tell the story. That it won't be one person in the world that could say there was no Holocaust. This was her drive. For me, why Wunsch fell in love with her and not other people, it's very, very obvious for me. I can, everybody fell in love with Tzipora. She was bigger than life. So this was Tzipora for me.
Miki, I think also from the clips that Maya has in the film, she looks like she definitely has a dramatic sensibility about her. She is, her body position, she's very centered, and she comes across as a very strong and opinionated woman. The part in the film that connects to this was that she was in jail and tortured or held because the Germans wanted her to say something about her relations with Wunsch, and she would never do it, and she didn't do it. You must be a very strong person to do it, I think, or maybe she was afraid that they will both be killed, but that doesn't matter. But I'm asking on a personal level, for you, she was your aunt, so of course you notice that she makes a huge impression on people. But was she, did you know her as that, I want to say, screen personality that is projected through the film? Are they the same?
Okay. I just want to say, because I didn't talk about it, I had the best mother in the world. The most loving and caring mother in the world, who tried endlessly to make a normal family for me and my brothers and sisters, and that we will not feel that we are different because what happened to her. what I achieved in my life, that I was acting and teaching drama, and I was on stage for many, many years now as well. It's all thanks to my mother. She was the best in the world. I was friends and I was close emotionally with Tzipora, as it's not obvious at all, because, you know, she was my aunt, she was much bigger than me. When I got married with Zeldik, my husband, both of us, and Tzipora and David, we went to Tzfat, to a hotel to celebrate together. We were friends. When I got, I gave labor to Or, my daughter, my eldest daughter, and I was amazed that it happened to me, because I was the only one who gave birth, of course. I asked Tzipora to come and be here with me, and not my mother.
What did you like about Tzipora that made you so close? What was it that appealed to you?
Because she told me I was her kid, and she told me I was her הממשיכה שלה.
Yeah, okay.
Going with her legacy. And we had a lot in common, and there was a big, big love between us, with her husband as well, and my husband. And it was natural for me that she came here to help me with my baby in the first days, and I never stopped then. Now I think about it all the time, of course. What it did to my mother, that I preferred Tzipora on my mother on that occasion, that was the biggest occasion of my life. We were very, very close, and we were friends. We were actually friends, more than related, and she felt that through me she could bring out all the artistic things in her. I hope I'm clear in the English now.
No. I think it's very clear, and it leads me, and this is again a question to both of you. You can't ignore that big interview on Israeli TV that brings up the very complicated relations, because you mentioned, you just now said, I don't know what it did to my mother. So on one hand, they're like two Siamese twins. This is what Shoshana says, because how could you be closer than what they were? And on the other hand, it takes years and a TV interview to bring to the surface something that was so important. So I want to ask Maya first, when you decided to include that TV interview in the film, what was the additional perspective that you wanted to give to the film?
I think it's very important to understand that this TV show back then in the 80s, it was a 5 o'clock show in Israel, in the only channel there was in Israel back then. And everybody, but when I say everybody, I mean everybody watched it. So yes, it was a very dramatic moment. Miki, I think, will share better regarding the family drama that this TV led to. But there is a short film I made called The Most Beautiful Woman. This is the first film I made. It's a 30-minute film that focuses on the second generation. In this film, I'm bringing Dagmar to Israel, and the climax of the film is when Dagmar is sitting. Well, where is Miki sitting right now? Meaning in Miki's house in Israel, and there is a big confrontation between Miki and her regarding. But I'm telling all of that because there's a sentence that Miki says in the short film, that is not in the full film. In the short film, Miki says that Helena and Rosa has a relationship that only people who survived together Auschwitz can and lost all their family there can have. So I think the complexity of the relationship is really is the reason I chose to use this interview, as they had a very hard time together along the year, Helena and Rosa, but they were the best friends and the closest sisters can be through their whole life, I think. But Miki can share better about that.
They were very, very, very close. They loved each other. My mother never forgot that she lost her children because of Rosa, of Helena. Of course, it's only an emotional thing, not really. But I think it's even not fair for us even to talk about it, because I never saw people as close as both of them. And when you're close to somebody and you love him and you owe your life, my mother owed her life to Tzipora, not only at that point in the gas chamber, but later on, I don't want to go into it, but many, many times. So it's like, it's like she's part of my breath. She's part of my welfare, because she saved me, because she's my sister, because without her, I wouldn't be here. That's what I felt, my mother felt. And the world was very complex, and it was not easy. And like I'm saying, the only time I saw it, and I talked about it in the movie, when I saw them in an occasion in a room that I was not in the room, but on the side, and Tzipora was crying and saying, please take the curse away, which I didn't know by then what she meant even. And that was the only time I saw my mother's face being very hard and very, like, because my mother was a very soft person.
I think, as both of you said, Maya noted, that I think that when people are so close, that to talk to the other person is almost like talking to yourself, and being angry with the other person is almost like being angry with yourself. That Shoshana allowed herself, or finally was able to let go of some of the anger, that this is, psychology, that I think she knew in a way that Tzipora was not responsible for the death of her children. But what do you do with all this anger? You can only give it to someone you really trust. This is the way I saw it. And the fact that Tzipora asked her to take that curse off of her shows me that she had to have the love of Shoshana. Tzipora had to have the love of Shoshana in order to keep surviving. What was the curse that she was talking about, Miki?
My mother told Tzipora, apparently a long time ago, before that happened, that she will never know peace and quiet because of what she did. Of course, she didn't do anything, but that's what my mother said. And Tzipora had a very difficult life, and things were very, very rough for her. And she begged my mother to take the curse away, that things will be difficult for her, because when maybe if she does it, she will feel better. So this is, in English, my poor English, approximately what happened there. But I just want to say again, because everybody keeps going to that point and talking about it, there was a big love there. and a great connection. And the children, we as the children in two families, there was a third one because there was another sister in Israel already, Miriam, and we were all together, or we grew up together, and the love and the caring about the three sisters to the kids and between them was just the best that could be.
Yeah. I think the love love is such an important thing in this film, and it comes in so many shapes. We tried to discuss it. Was it love? Was it pure? Was it one-sided? Was it out of free will? Did it do a person good? Did it do a person bad to be in love? I think love is such a complicated concept, and Maya does such an extraordinary job in putting love on the table in this film and getting us to think about it. This is the last question to both of you. We'll start with whoever. What are you hoping? Maya, you mentioned that you want people to think about the aspect of love that has to do with authority, men in authority, women in kind of a victim position there, and today in different positions where love is not, although it may feel genuine, it's not really out of free choice, and therefore you doubt what it really is. But what are you hoping that the viewers will understand or take from the film?
I can say that the thing that most fascinated me in the story, right from the beginning, was the ambivalence of the two main figures, the SS officer and the Jewish victim. You can't really speak about Franz as pure evil. He was, there is no doubt about that, he was a sadistic SS officer in Auschwitz. And after quite a thorough research of the trial in Austria, I can say I'm quite confident that he also served on the ramp, taking part in the selection, and that's harsh. It's really harsh. So he was a sadistic SS officer, but he also was quite a romantic and tender man, even a naive one, that is capable of pure love and compassion. And Helena is also not the classic imaginary victim. She's a strong woman with a strong survival drive, willing to do whatever she needs in order to save herself and to save her sister. And these gray zones between evil and pure are the areas that drives me as a storyteller, and this is what makes the story so important as I see it, because it's only humans. In every side, there are only human beings. And there is no such a thing as pure evil and pure good. And it's our responsibility to distinguish between good and bad in every point in life.
And Miki, you also mentioned that these were two, in one of the interviews, that these were two very young people caught in an impossible situation, monstrous situation. What are you hoping that people will think about after they watch the film?
First of all, my drive to allow to make that movie was, it's very funny actually, that my daughters and granddaughters will know the story of the family. It's very funny. I had that narrow thinking before I understood how big the story is already in the world, how it's not mine. It's out there. So this was my drive, which is very small and personal. After I got into it with Maya and with her help, I just looked at those two kids, you know, the monster, the German monster, and the pure Jewish girl, and I said, they beat with their love the whole system that was going on there. That in pure love of people, when you actually meet the other person, you are alike. You are the same. It doesn't matter that he had German parents and she had Jewish parents. They were together and they were in love and they were in an unbelievable situation. And he kept loving her. I don't want to talk about my aunt because I think she changed when she came to Israel and built her family and her kids, and she wanted peace of mind and heart. But he loved her till the end of his life. And we have what Maya did with the movie, bringing Dagmar to my home. Dagmar, his daughter, and his wife knew about Helena, about Zipporah, every day of their life. So it's like when you love somebody, it doesn't go away, it's there. So for me, it's like hope for many, many, many things that happen in the world now, and especially what's going on in Israel now. You know, with us, and I'm going to a very strange place now, and politically, that we and the Arabs, we can live together. We are all people. We all want to raise our children. We all want peace. We all want to see our kids making it. We all just want to be home with the granddaughters and grandchildren, and we just want to love each other. We don't want anything else. And if that love happened in Auschwitz and it succeeded, he loved her. Wunsch loved my aunt till the rest of his life. Why can't it happen between other people that, thanks God, things like that didn't happen to them? You know, we can just do it. So this is what I want to say about it. You know, just go and love and live and let live. That's it.
Halevai.
Halevai.
Halevai. For the other side. Thank you so much. I think it is such, you touch upon something that to be human is such a complicated thing, and it's one's choice to decide if you want to act towards others through empathy and understanding, or if you want to act towards others through hate and violence. And we all have this choice all the time, and we make different decisions at different times of our lives. And so I'm with you. I have a million more questions, but this was wonderful, wonderful, and what a great film. And thank you, Miki, so much. And Maya, good luck to you. You are very pregnant, I understand, or what?
I just had a baby boy.
Oh, you just had it already. Mazal tov, mazal tov. What's his name?
He's 2 weeks old. His name is Yotam.
Yotam, oh, Yofi.
Yeah.
The best of luck to you, mazal tov.
Thank you very much.
And good luck with the film, and good luck with everything you do in life. Toda rabba rabba.
Thank you for hosting us. We are very thrilled to take part in the Philadelphia Jewish Film Festival, and very honored. And thank you for the great talk. Thank you, Iris. Thank you, Miki.
Be'atzlacha.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Toda.